It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Another edition of the J Area Wrestling Show here. Your humble host, Jose Ramos Jr., welcoming you to another live. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Hopefully, the week has treated you well, and that the weekend ahead will be even better. As always, I'm happy, pleased to include you here in our Wrestle Talk. And in today's stream, we're going to be answering questions, talking about your comments and opinions in the chat, as well as sharing my predictions, my analysis of every matchup that's currently scheduled on the main card for AEW, their newest and latest pay-per-view, I should say, WrestleDream, emanating in St. Louis, Missouri. Should be a good card. The AEW pay-per-views are consistently real well put together from top to bottom. There is not a single matchup to me that seems to be, such a waste. I don't want to be negative there, but sometimes on certain pay-per-views or PLEs, there may be a matchup that's like, did we really need it on this pay-per-view? It could have been a Raw episode, it could have been a Dynamite episode, but Dynamite, rather AEW, has gone really well at orchestrating and constructing a pay-per-view event. I said it was WrestleDream, so I thought it was appropriate to wear, maybe not dream, but nightmare related, Freddy Krueger. Obviously, the month of October. You guys already know how I feel about Halloween. It's my second favorite holiday. WrestleDream just around the corner. A stacked card. And I want to give people here an opportunity to join us in the live and in the chat. Let me know what you guys are thinking about in the world of wrestling, as well as what you think about AEW WrestleDream and their latest pay-per-view event. Also, a quick shout out to everybody that has already checked out our latest video on New Jack, a new iteration of the Dark Side of the Ring series that we were covering here on YouTube. I knew that it would be an interesting take on what we were doing with the live streams in regards to the Dark Side of the Ring. If you have any questions about New Jack, or maybe even potential new topics that you would like to hear about on the channel, go ahead and let me know in the chat as well. I'm open to suggestions. I'm always receptive to any tips or just any topics that you guys would love to hear about, and I would love to do the research on. So again, if there's any topic or a story, even maybe not necessarily the Dark Side of the Ring, but maybe a storyline that really resonated with you or that you would love more of a deep dive in, sound off in the chat. Let me know what you guys would be interested in, and I would love to appease and provide that to you as a wrestling channel. The episode of New Jack, again, if you're just joining us here, we're talking about AEW WrestleDream, our predictions for every match, but I want to do a little catch up when it comes to the New Jack video that was just uploaded on Wednesday. The thing with New Jack that I thought was just so fascinating in terms of the research for that video was his relationship with his opponents. You could sense that a common theme in that video was the importance and the significance of protecting your opponents and any participant within the match. In pro wrestling, it goes without saying, it's not ballet. It is a very physical sport, a very physical form of entertainment that does result in actual injuries, and in some cases, life-threatening injuries. So for an individual like New Jack to have done what he had done in his career, it to me threw out a total disregard for the basic fundamental rule of protecting your opponent, protecting the people involved in the matchup. If you haven't seen that video, I highly encourage you to do so. It was such a fun experience for me in terms of the editing process and incorporating different notes in the video, as well as just different features to the video as well, giving it a little bit more life than a live stream. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing the live streams, but being able to add like little factoids off in the corners, some images, a little bit of editing processing in the video itself to give it life. I thought that was cool. I thought it was fun. I'm already beginning the next video. I've said in the past I want to do like a monthly upload at the very least to provide a quality video over the quantity, rather than doing 2 videos a week like I was earlier in the year. I narrowed it down to maybe 2 videos a month because I really just want to hone in on the quality of it all. And the last 2 videos, one being the fantasy booking of the TNA Invasion, That one did wonders, and I want to thank you guys for your constant support and allowing it to grow into the video that it had become, and also helping in the surge of the subscriber count that we've had this last couple of weeks, as well as the New Jack video. It's still early on and it's getting a little bit of traction, but again, if there's anything you want to know about New Jack or any questions, comments you want to throw our way, make sure you sound off in the chat and we'll get to those. But in the meantime, I do want to share my quick thoughts on a report that was made public earlier in the day. Keep in mind, just like you guys have to work during the day, we have our day job. And upon getting out, I saw a comment made by Nick Khan, who was one of the head executives in the WWE, TKO, saying that he believes that fans will travel to Saudi Arabia, for WrestleMania 43. And to me, I just find it to be very, very tone deaf. The WWE right now, granted, is like on a hot streak when it comes to their shows. Pretty good. I think it's been the best it's been in a while. But when it comes to like the pricing of the tickets, it is ridiculous. To have it in Saudi Arabia is one thing, because you want to branch out to international. I personally would have had the event in either France or like in London for the very first outside of the North America, WrestleMania. Not the case. They're going to Saudi Arabia. Say what you want about the deal. Say what you want about the current climate of the country. But to say that he thinks fans are going to travel all the way out to Saudi Arabia, like, I'm thinking it's like the rich fans, like the green shirt guy. Someone had made a comment on TikTok that the green shirt guy and then just those the fans you always see at these events are going to be there. But like the common fan, like you and I, who watch week in and week out, are not going to be able to afford it. I mean, obviously I can't speak on everybody's finances, but I know for me personally, I'm not spending an absurd amount of money to travel to Saudi Arabia for nosebleed seats that won't even guarantee me viewing of the ring. I got bad vision as it is. To move all the way, to travel all the way, in terms of that type of cost, for not even decent seats, it's man, it's ridiculous. The pricings are crazy. They're pricing out the diehard fans, quite frankly, and they're having a lot of celebrity involvement, which I guess is good publicity, but in the long run, I don't think it does well for the fan base. And my brother and I, we've talked about it extensively, about how TKO has changed the WWE for, honestly, not the better in terms of greed and business savvy. It's a lot to unpack there. Sir Robert in the chat says, your New Jack work was amazing. I really appreciate that. I took a lot of pride in that video, and just the process that it had taken to again record it, to cut it up and edit and incorporate the visuals that we did in that video, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I hope to do more stuff like that. If people enjoy that video and that type of content, I would love to incorporate it more on the channel. So I'm glad it's getting the reception that it is. So I appreciate that, Robert. Thank you. Mohammed's in the chat, says hello and happy Thursday. Hope you're doing well. Same as you, my friend. Thank you for joining us again on another live stream. Says, I know that this is not a wrestling topic, but I just want to give my deepest condolences to the family of Ace. Oh, yes. Was it, oh my God, it's going to kill me. Was it Kiss? But yeah. Seth Rollins. Oh, okay. So we were going to talk about WrestleDream, but I do want to talk about the Seth Rollins stuff real quick. So Seth Rollins, on Monday night, we saw, suffered an attack by Bronson. Let's say Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Bronze, man. Sometimes it's a tongue twister, but they attack him, and a lot of people, myself included, were kind of stunned by it. Like, whoa, it seems like it's out of nowhere. We knew this was going to be an issue later down the road, but then reports started coming out about a potential injury that he had sustained during his match against Cody at the latest PLE, at the latest PLE. He apparently, during the Crown Jewel matchup against Cody, injured his shoulder. And it was all a matter of the severity of it. But now it appears that he's going to have surgery on his shoulder, and it will remove him from the road for the foreseeable future. I saw somewhere that he might miss WrestleMania in April. And if that's the case, that is a big chunk of the year. Like, take into consideration it's WrestleMania, the big payday, of course, but that is a lot of time without Seth Rollins, who has become a key fixture in all the day-to-day operations when it comes to wrestling, the program. It completely alters the storyline of the Braun Breaker turn on Seth, because I think we all saw the writing on the wall that Braun Breaker was going to be the next guy, very similar to how Batista was in Evolution when he turned on Triple H in 2005. So they had to speed that process up. And now that you don't have Seth involved, reports are coming out that he was supposed to be facing off against Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. That would have been, off the chain. That would have been fire. But now that seemingly is off the table. So now what does Roman do at WrestleMania? It's a shame, like Muhammad says in the chat here, the injuries at like the worst possible time. Unfortunately, injuries are never a good time, but I agree with you, Muhammad, in the sense that he is the world champion. He is currently involved in one of the highlight storylines in WWE, and knowing that he's going to be missing an extensive period of time, what happens with the world title now? We know CM Punk's the number one contender. We know Braun Breaker has his eyes on that world championship, so where do we go from here? I propose, as I've seen someone else do on Twitter, Saturday night's main event, November 1st. We know CM Punk is going to be in the World Championship matchup. He's already on the poster, and it's been alluded to by Triple H. Why not have him and LA Knight go after that championship? It's going to be vacant, from my understanding. Have Punk versus LA Knight as a blow-off of their little mini feud that they've had these last few months. That's personally what I would think. I'm sorry, I feel like I have a sneeze coming in. Sir Robert says, didn't he injure his leg and it was a fake to pin Punk? That is correct, Robert. That injury sustained at the Saturday night's main event in like July. That was a work. And that allowed him to fool everybody and cash in on CM Punk at SummerSlam. But the Crown Jewel matchup with Cody Rhodes, there was a spot in there where he does a coast-to-coast headbutt, and you can see the way he lands. I believe it's his left shoulder. He landed kind of awkwardly. And there's been photographs after the event of him in a sling. Now, granted, this is the same guy that duped us all a couple of months ago, but I don't think they would do it so close in proximity of timing. We just saw this angle in July. So I don't think they would do it again here in October. Plus, because they're speeding up the Braun Breaker turn, that tells me it is serious. Because that's a storyline that you don't just blow off on a random Monday night. That would have been like a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania kind of a moment. And it would have been paid off after months of buildup. The Vision's only been a thing for like 6 months. So the fact that they broke it up, or seemingly blown it up right now, that tells us that Seth is actually injured. If it was a work, I do not think they would have gone with the whole breakup angle, unless it's some kind of elaborate ruse that leads us to believe that the team is broken up, only for them to be okay a couple weeks later at this Saturday night's main event. But I don't see that as the case. It looks like Seth is legitimately hurt with a shoulder injury and will be out for an extensive period of time. When it comes to the whole working the angle of an injury, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And it's like, you're not going to get me a second time here. I'm very confident that Seth is actually injured. And again, if reports are led to be believed, we might not see him until after WrestleMania. Maybe it's a similar injury to Liv Morgan, who had also had shoulder surgery, and it was led to believe not to be too serious, but we know she won't be back till maybe January. When her injury happened, I honestly think she's going to win the Rumble. I think Morgan comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, gets a championship match at WrestleMania. That's just my opinion. If you want for the men's prediction, I still think Sami Zayn is a real viable option there as a Royal Rumble winner, but that's a discussion for another day. So we talked about all this stuff. Hold on here. Muhammad says, thoughts on Chris Jericho and not having any AEW talents on his cruise. I think the writing's on the wall, Muhammad. We talked about a potential Chris Jericho return to the WWE. I know you were a big proponent of that as well, talking about my thoughts on him jumping back. I think Jericho's on the move. I don't know if it's going to be for a long period of time or a deep run, But I do think him in the Royal Rumble is a very strong possibility. I would not be surprised at the slightest if Chris Jericho were to return at the Royal Rumble. The only question is for how long and what type of a run would it be. Him not having any AEW talent, I don't think it's anything personal, but I also think, come on, like if he was going back, he'd have the talent. But the fact that there's no AEW talent listed on the cruise, I think it's safe to say I think he goes back to WWE and has this last run and eventually goes in the Hall of Fame. Don't think it'll be this year, this upcoming Hall of Fame, but maybe the following year for sure. Appreciate the questions, guys. Keep them coming. But we were talking about WrestleDream. One of the first matches on the card that I want to talk about here at WrestleDream is the TNT Championship, as Kyle Fletcher, the reigning and defending TNT champion, will be defending that title against Mark Briscoe, their fifth encounter. And each time these guys, compete against each other, it's an entertaining matchup. Now, I will say for me personally, the Mark Briscoe character, it kind of struggles to connect with me. And I will say I did not grow up on the Ring of Honor product, so him and his brother as a tag team, I was not fortunate enough to watch a lot of their content, a lot of their matches. I understand what they bring to the table as a historic tag team, specifically out in the indie scene. But him against Kyle Fletcher has always been a fun matchup, and I expect nothing less than that. I do think Mark Briscoe puts up a good fight, but I still don't think that it's time for Kyle Fletcher to drop that championship. I have Fletcher going over and defeating him once again. Now, all love to Briscoe. I think he's one of the better talents in AEW, is certainly with the crowd. Maybe it's just not for me, but I can recognize his connection with the audience. And I do like his little reckless, style, but I'm going to have to go with Kyle. Muhammad says, I just wanted Jericho to leave AEW on a high, positive note. Ideally, yeah, you always do, but sometimes you don't get to choose that. His last bit with the learning tree was kind of hit or miss. For me, it wasn't his best stuff. Obviously, the Inner Circle to me was his best stuff, but if he does go back to the WWE, he's going to get a loud pop for sure. Robert says Kyle needs to leave AEW right now. I'd have to disagree. I think he can certainly carve out his own niche in AEW. Could he work in WWE? Certainly, maybe down the line. But I think this is a great opportunity for him to really hone in on his skills and develop that superstar persona that he's already working on. The Protostar is fire. I think he has the look, he certainly has the charisma, and he has the wrestling ability to do so. But I do think it's just, he's still very young. Still very young. Maybe down the road, but I don't think he needs to leave right now. Speaking of young and up-and-coming talent, the women's division is loaded in AEW, and we're going to see Thekla versus Jamie Hayter. Hayter's going to hate. I'm a big fan of Jamie Hayter, but given her win against Sky Blue last night, I always look at the trends. I always look at the little details in wrestling, and that tells me she's not going to get back-to-back wins. Also, I think Jamie Hayter is protected enough to where she can still be a viable competitor on the roster by taking a loss, whereas someone like Thekla, I think she could definitely benefit from a victory here over Jamie Hayter. And that's not to say that it would be a one and done. I think she gets the victory over Jamie, and then we start leading into another matchup here, maybe one or two, with eventually Jamie Hayter winning out the feud. But I do think for the time being, Thekla goes over, defeats Jamie Hayter, and in a sleeper of a matchup, I think this could actually be better than the Women's World Championship for that matter, which I'll get to in a bit. But keep an eye on the Jamie Hayter versus Thekla matchup. That one looks like it's going to be a fun one. And the Trios division, this is a matchup I'm not overly excited about because I just feel like it's been oversaturated. We saw it all out. The Demand versus the Hurt Syndicate, with the Hurt Syndicate going over. And then we had the street fight with the Demand going over. And then recently, last night, we saw the tag team of the Gates of Agony go over Benjamin and Lashley. So to me personally, it's a little bit too much going on and having them compete against each other too much. I think you should leave it in the ring when it comes to pay-per-views. This is going to be the fourth iteration of the matchup that we're going to see. The Hurt Syndicate took the first one at All Out. Then on a couple weeks ago on Dynamite, the Demand took it. And now we had yesterday's matchup. I'm honestly hoping the feud ends I don't need any more of it. The Hurt Syndicate, I think, are some of the best athletes and one of the best acts in AEW right now. I don't want to see them saddled with a demand. It's nothing personal. I do not get a sense of excitement when I see the Gates of Agony. Ricochet's cool, but I do think they kind of let him cool down here in AEW. I'm over it, truthfully. I do think the Hurt Syndicate go over. I don't see a world in where they don't get the victory here. I think they are certainly the better act. I think they're certainly meant for bigger and better things. I am going to love when they eventually get Lashley into the main event scene. I think he is an AEW World Champion in the making. Unfortunately for him, I just think the top is too crowded right now, and they won't do it just yet. It'll keep him in the tag team division and the trios division essentially, but I'm going to go with the Hurt Syndicate to get the victory over Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, aka The Demand. Next up, we'll stick with the tag team division as the World Tag Team titles are on the line as Brodito, the tag team of Brody King and Bandito, go 2-on-2 instead of 1-on-1 against an interesting tag team. I mean, two of the best athletes in AEW right now, Kazuchika Okada and the newly crowned IWGP World Champion, Konosuke Takeshita. This one is an interesting one. This was one of two matches that I really struggled to predict because I think Brodito still is very much in the infancy of their championship title reign, whereas Takeshita and Okada, there's clear signs of animosity, especially on Okada's part. There's a little tension there, and I think we're eventually going to get the matchup one-on-one between them, which I'm going to be excited for. I just don't know if we pull the trigger on that just yet. This is going to go one of two ways. Either at the event, we're going to see Takeshita and Okada get physical, and this will lead to their loss at the pay-per-view. Or it'll be a little bit of a swerve, and Okada and Takeshita, rather than coming to blows, they actually come together and they win. And if I had to go with it, I think the obvious call would be them to break up, or at least to fight, because we've seen that tension. But I feel like Tony Khan is just serving that up as a way to suspend our disbelief and subvert our expectations, and they win. I'm going to go Okada and Takeshita beating Brodito, winning the tag team titles, and now both of them are double champions, bringing more championship gold to the Don Callis family. This matchup I am looking forward to, especially with all the talent involved. I think this could definitely steal the show, but I am going to go with Okada and Takeshita to be crowned as the new World Tag Team Champions. Robert has a good point here. He says they can't do Bobby Lashley as a singles. He would kill everybody. It's embarrassing. Bobby Lashley should be a singles, though. He had a short run in the WWE as the WWE Champion, but even then, I feel like they left a lot on the table there when it came to Bobby Lashley. This guy is a star. He was a champion in the WWE. He was a champion in TNA. Why wouldn't he be a champion in AEW? I think he has all the makings of a star. Again, the main qualities: can go in the ring, has the persona, has the wrestling ability. Push him to the moon. And if you're not confident in his promo style, he has MVP right there. Shelton can be in the mid card. Bobby can be in the main event scene. I don't know. Another tag team matchup. This was the other match that I was having difficulty predict. It is a $500,000 match, meaning the winning team will receive $500,000. It's the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the recently reunited Jurassic Express, Jungle Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus. I love the fact that we put these guys back together. I thought they should never have broken up. I think obviously you want to have Jungle Boy, and now going by Jungle Jack Perry, kind of spread his wings and go solo, allow him to grow and become a single star. But now that that portion of his career is over with, I like that we put him back with Luchasaurus and have a familiar tag team on the roster. Do I think that $500,000 on the line makes it interesting? If this was just a straight up standard tag team matchup, I'm going Jurassic Express with a bullet. Like, no doubt in my mind. But because of the $500K that's on the line, I could see the Young Bucks getting that $500K again and just going on another, spending spree. But why put them back together, Jurassic Express, and then just have them lose their first major match on a pay-per-view? To me, that's counterproductive, unless it's by nefarious acts and the Young Bucks cheat. That is a possibility. But if I had to go with that 500K, what would Jungle Jack and Luchasaurus do with that 500K? Do they really need it? That 500K is a big plot point here in this matchup, which is why I'm not really confident about it. But I'm going to go Young Bucks. I'm going to go the Young Bucks win this match. They earn more money to put in their pocket. And the feud with the feud with the Jurassic Express is far from over. So Robert says everybody in AEW is tiny. He's Andre the Giant. I mean, unless, and the thing is too, he could have matches against Powerhouse Hobbs, but he's in the trios division. You could have a matchup against Big Bill, but I wouldn't be really too into it. You could have a matchup with Wardlow, but Lord knows where Wardlow's at. There are some matchups there if you want to have a big boy versus a big boy, but the majority of their roster, for the lack of a better phrase, is smaller than one Bobby Lashley. But to be fair, how many humans on this earth can you put up against Bobby Lashley as a credible opponent? The man is a full-on specimen, is what he is. Shout out to Bob Lashley. The AEW Women's World Championship is also on the line, as the new champion, Chris Statlander, will be defending that title against the ex-champion, the woman that she had beaten in that Fatal 4-Way matchup. We're talking about Timeless Toni Storm. I'm looking forward to the matchup, but as I talked about earlier, I think Jamie Hayter and Tekla might be a better matchup, with all due respect to these two. Probably going to be wrong, because Toni Storm, every time she's in the ring, it's money. And Statlander has been a stalwart for the AEW Women's Division for years now. And now that she has an opportunity to have a run with the world title, I'm hoping she takes this and runs with it. Her against Toni Storm, the build's been interesting. It's been a build based off of seemingly respect, but also lust for that world championship. Toni Storm claims that title is a part of her. At this point, we cannot see the championship on anyone else's shoulder or around their waist, for that matter. Her against Statlander, I think, will be an outstanding matchup, but again, it's too soon in the title reign for it to change hands. I love Toni Storm. I think she's one of the MVPs of All Elite Wrestling, but I'm going to go with Chris Statlander to continue this championship reign heading into the winter. Next up, we have the I Quit match. Darby Allin versus Moxley. This is the match. This is the match I'm looking forward to the most. With all due respect to the main event, the world title scene, we'll get to that. But the I Quit match between Moxley and Darby Allin is at least a year in the making, when you really go to the start of the Death Riders and the vicious attack that Moxley and company had on one Bryan Danielson. And that image of, it was Darby Allin, Danny Garcia, now with the Death Riders, Orange Cassidy, all watching over what had just transpired against a Bryan Danielson. And now he is able to have his vengeance. He's able to have, a moment of revenge against Jon Moxley after a year of waiting. And shout out to the AEW production team, because the segment where they were, face to face with the partition of the glass between them, there was a shot there over the shoulder, Darby Allin, and they were looking at Jon Moxley, but you can still see the reflection of Darby right around the face of Moxley. Beautiful imagery. I'm always into the camera work of wrestling and just movies, because it's storytelling at the end of the day. So big shout out to the camera work there during that segment. This is a matchup between two of the most hardcore wrestlers in AEW. Two individuals that will not say die, and I find it hard to believe that one of them is going to have to utter the words, I quit. Jon Moxley did tap out during the Texas Death match at All In against Hangman, the very same matchup that allowed him to become the world champion. So it is interesting to see that there's a possibility that we can see Moxley literally say the words, I quit, here only a couple months after that loss. I'm expecting a lot of color. I'm expecting a lot of glass, maybe thumbtacks, table spots, ladder spots. It's going to be an all-out war. If you are on the fence of purchasing WrestleDream, this might be the matchup. If you're into this type of wrestling, that is, because I know there's some people who aren't into hardcore wrestling, but if you are, this is the matchup that I think will sell you on. Jon Moxley had lost the world title at All In, so some people might be hesitant to predict a Moxley loss because it is so close to that very same loss. But I honestly cannot see Darby Allin quitting. I could see someone like Moxley again. We've seen it once, so it could happen again. But Darby, I do not see him saying die. I think Darby gets the victory, even though it's an I Quit match, because you already know that the Death Riders are going to get involved. Claudio, Pac, Danny Garcia, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, they're all going to get involved. I don't know how he's going to do it, but I think Darby pulls out the victory. I cannot see him losing this matchup. And if he does, I don't know how they're going to book it. I don't know how. He's going to go over. This is the one match of the entire, well, okay, maybe one of the two matches that I'm just super confident on. I'm going to go with Darby. The main event, though, to close out the WrestleDream portion of the stream is Hangman Adam Page defending his world championship against Samoa Joe. Dude, I mean, come on, sign me up. It's Samoa Joe. And I love Hangman Adam Page. He's one of my favorites here in AEW. But with all due respect to Samoa Joe, I don't see him winning this. It's just Hangman Adam Page recently just won the championship at All In. Everything of this matchup, though, I feel that they're going to try to implement some kind of drama that shows that Samoa Joe can get a near victory, but ultimately, it's going to be Hangman. And there's not much analysis I can give you, aside from the fact that he's just won the championship. I don't think they want this title hot potatoing so often, especially after a monumental win for Page. He goes over, Samoa Joe will take the pin loss, and he'll be just fine because it's Samoa Joe. He's already in the Trios division as the champion, so he'll probably just fall back into the Trios championship picture. Robert says, how many times will the camera catch Mox Blade? Bad hardcore. You know what? And that was always the issue with like HD. I feel like when wrestling went to HD, we became so much more aware of things like this. But there are certain times where it is pretty blatant. It is very blatant of the Moxley, and maybe not just Moxley, but just wrestling in general, about when they're blading. You can certainly tell from a spot when it's like a big headshot, whether it's a chair, the steel steps, maybe the ring post, and then the wrestler is off camera. Ideally, they should be off camera, maybe hiding underneath the ring apron or with the referee, and you can tell, okay, this is probably where they're going to blade, and we're going to see some color, and it never fails, but it is exactly when we see color being introduced. Do I think he gets caught this time? No, I'm going to go on the other side here, Robert. I'm going to say, you know what? He's going to be able to cover it up. Reese is in the chat. What's up, Reese? How you doing, my friend? Appreciate you, Reese, for being here in the chat. We're talking WrestleDream. I just shared my overall predictions for every match on the main card. I don't really talk about the pre-show or the 0 hour. I'm sharing our predictions here. Let me know what you think about AEW. What are some of your thoughts on the matches being scheduled, and share some of your predictions in the chat as well. I also shared a little bit of insight regarding that New Jack video. I would love if you guys would go out of your way and check out that New Jack video. Something a little bit different here on the channel as we move the Dark Side of the Ring topics to more of a long-form video format rather than the live stream. But again, being that it was just uploaded yesterday, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about New Jack, hey, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we'll get to them here as we go along for this hour of YouTube Live on the J Area Wrestling Show. So, if you haven't already, though, I humbly ask if you subscribe to the channel. If you want to be a part of the chat and if you want to be a part of the discussion, that is the J Area Wrestling Show. You have to be subscribed in order to participate in these chats. And while you're at it, consider becoming a member by joining the Main Event Mafia, where you're going to get exclusive content like videos, shorts, polls, posts, and also first reply priority in the comments by having a unique championship title next to your name that will help determine how long you've been a member. Obviously, some of our diehard members hopefully saw the video of New Jack, because at the end of the New Jack video, I thought it would be a nice little treat as a thank you from me to the members of the Main Event Mafia for sticking with us for the last year here on YouTube, since we've made the leaps and bounds of momentum here on the channel. I decided to include a little thank you for our members with everybody's username here on YouTube. So if you haven't, seen the New Jack video and you are a member, please go out of your way and stick to the end, so that way you can see that your name's also incorporated into that video. Couldn't do it without you guys, without the constant support. So that was my way of showing just a little thanks for your guys' constant support. But also, you can also find us on socials at X, Instagram, and TikTok at jareapod_. Once again, that's at jareapod_, where I have been uploading more often than not, mostly reels, shorts, and TikToks. Trying to keep up to date with other topics in pro wrestling. These live streams have been an awesome opportunity to incorporate your guys' opinions and questions and have a discussion in real time. But as real events are going on, I try to have maybe a little bit more of an opinion on those things in short video form. So if you want some of my thoughts on other topics, such as, the Nick Khan comments, or just some of the storylines that are taking place, like the John Cena farewell tour, you can catch some of my opinions and thoughts on TikTok, Instagram, and on X as well. But aside from that, we do have WrestleDream this upcoming weekend. That'll be on Saturday. Monday Night Raw on a Monday. That's when we'll go live next, is on Monday. That way we can discuss the fallout of WrestleDream and basically what's going on with Seth Rollins. If you guys haven't heard, we talked about it a little bit here on the stream, but Seth Rollins apparently has sustained an injury. Looks like it's his shoulder and will miss an extensive period of time that could keep him out of WrestleMania, which is just another star that will miss significant time. I mean, Liv Morgan, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, just to name a few. Naomi, I know, isn't injured, but the blessing of a child, hey, she'll be gone for a little bit of a time there too. So the roster is running a little thin, it appears. And I've also read that apparently we might see some NXT call-ups on SmackDown, that is, in the next coming weeks, to kind of help fill up the roster and build up a little intrigue from the fan base. That'll be interesting to keep up with. And aside from that, we do have another upload coming up at the beginning of the month for our members only. That'll give you insight to what will happen throughout the month of November. And also another video coming up. Already starting to work on it and plan. I'm super excited for this next one, guys. I will give a hint. I want to incorporate... I have Dark Side, obviously. That was the video we just did. But this next one, I want to do some fantasy booking and share my own thoughts on how I would book a certain superstar. It was of the past, but I don't want to share too much. If you are a member of the Main Event Mafia and you saw the video posted at the beginning of the month, you have a little hint about who it is. So, Robert says, Jose, what about a story about Alberto Del Rio? That's interesting. And it's like that's the point of these streams too, is to be able to get a live look at what you guys are interested in. When it comes to Del Rio, are we talking about career-wise? Are we talking personal life? I'm very much fascinated to hear what you guys would want to see. I like incorporating the dark side of the ring, but it could also be like a career retrospect and going over the career of Alberto Del Rio and why it didn't work in the WWE. But again, there's different avenues and different angles to take when it comes to these wrestlers, and I try to be very receptive to what you guys are interested in. And the New Jack stuff, I thought would have been perfect because it fit real well with the Dark Side of the Ring series. But Del Rio he's another example of a controversial star. But at any time, hey, if you guys have any suggestions for video ideas, drop them in the comments, drop them in the chat. I have access to all of them. I might not respond to every single one of them, but I try to, acknowledge the comments that are, very insightful. Those who are asking questions or those that make good points, I try to, acknowledge them, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to consume the content that is produced here on YouTube by us here at the J Area Wrestling Show. And so long as there is a demand for it, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. I'm trying to think what else has happened in the world of wrestling, as not just in regards to the WWE or AEW. As we know, TNA just recently had their flagship pay-per-view in Bound for Glory. Bubba, or Bully Ray, I don't know how you guys refer to him, one half of the Dudleys, claims that his matchup, he and Devon's matchup against the Hardys, is a five star classic, and it's very very subjective when it comes to 5 stars. It depends on your style. I still think, I look at the match like Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. That's a 5-star matchup, but apparently to Dave Meltzer it wasn't. So it's all subjective. I don't know if I would go so far as to say it was a 5-star match. I really enjoyed it because of the nostalgia that brought with it, but from an objective standpoint, I don't think I can give it a 5-star. I think it was a fun matchup. It was exactly what it should have been and what it needed to be. But I don't think I could put it up at 5-star, because to me, I look at 5-star matches like, Shawn versus Taker, whether it's Hell in a Cell or WrestleMania, Punk versus Cena, the Punk versus McIntyre Hell in a Cell matchup. There's a lot of 5-star matches that I would put up there, and not necessarily be on the same tier as that Dudleys versus Hardy matchup. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better matches that the Hardys have had in a while. Again, no disrespect to them, but I wouldn't put it up there as a 5-star with these other matches. Personally, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys saw Bound for Glory, what were your thoughts on the Hardys versus Dudleys in that table match? Robert asks, have you seen the Smashing Machine? I have not just yet. I want to, but again, between work and between trying to get this channel up and running, I haven't had an opportunity to. I would love to, though. It's something I've told my family about. We're very big movie fans, and we try to go to the theater as much as we can when it comes to the new releases. But the Smashing Machine is definitely on my list that I would love to go see. I'm probably going to end up watching it streaming from home, but based off of the reception from the critics, I've heard good things about the movie, but in terms of the box office, apparently it's set to lose money. I don't know if it's broken even yet, but I know Christopher Nolan was a big supporter of The Rock in this movie, saying it was a good performance, and to see that it's not doing well in terms of money, in terms of the box office, it's very disheartening, because I know this is a project that The Rock was very passionate about, and it wasn't like his usual projects where we're talking about Jumanji or the Fast and Furious franchise. This was a serious role that required a lot of dedication and preparation, and he wasn't playing himself. I feel like The Rock in a lot of these movies is just playing an extensive version of himself. This was an actual role, so I have not had the chance to watch it, but I definitely would love to. Sir Robert, if it's in Japan, Dave would give it 5 stars. If it was in Japan, he might give it 7 stars. Some of those ratings are ridiculous. And that's not even if it's in the Tokyo Dome. If it's in the Tokyo Dome, it's an instant classic. What's going on, Will? Says hello. What's going on? How are things going? Going pretty good. Can't complain. Again, like I said, just nothing but work and working on the channel. Pretty good. I can't complain. Hopefully you're doing well too, buddy. What would you think about if Jey Uso turns heel? I don't know, man. It's just because you wind the clock back 6 months ago, and Jey Uso is one of the top baby faces. Is still getting a loud reception from the audience. They're yeeting like crazy. I don't think he turns heel, but I do think we have a certain edge to Jey Uso. I think we start seeing a much more aggressive side of Jey Uso. Not a complete heel turn, but definitely seeing some tendencies of Roman. And maybe this is what he needs to kind of lock in, and this is their way to prevent him from being a caricature of himself, and not just the Yeet Man, but the main event Jey Uso. If he were to turn heel, though, I don't know. The last big star they turned heel, it didn't work really well, and they had to abandon that idea pretty soon. But the WWE at this point, they do need some credible heels. They need real big heels. Um, Seth is out. Gunther's been out. He'll probably be back pretty soon, though. But to answer your question, I would be against it. I don't think they should turn Jay heel. Not yet. If done correctly, though, I can get behind it. Just right now, I wouldn't buy it as a heel turn. I appreciate the question, though, Will. Thank you. The WWE is also building towards their next premium live event. We have Survivor Series around the corner. It will be taking place in San Diego. War Games is upon us, and the question is, what is the field going to look like in War Games? War Games is one of my favorite matchups moving into the year. It's a great addition to the WWE programming since back in the days of NXT. And speaking of NXT, they have Halloween Havoc. I think it's next, not this Saturday, but the next weekend. Halloween Havoc. It'll be taking place, I believe, in Tempe, Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. It's somewhere in Arizona, and it looks like Trick Williams will be facing off against Ricky Saints for the TNA, for the NXT Championship. So I'm interested in that. Love the feel of Halloween Havoc, so hopefully that'll be a good show as well. Will says, I was over at the event when Jey Uso kicked Reed into the announce chair. Well, that's pretty cool. That's always awesome when like you're able to attend a show and there's a distinct moment that just sticks out in your mind, of something that happened. For example, my very first wrestling event, as you guys know, was Judgment Day 2006. It was in May, I want to say May 21st, 2006, then known as the US Airways Center. Then it became Talking Stick Resort, and I don't even know what name it's at anymore. And the moment that sticks out to me was when Booker T wins the King of the Ring and is celebrating, but Bobby Lashley, we're back at Bobby, spears Booker T into the throne. There were plenty of other moments that happened that stick out in my memory, but that spot of him spearing Booker T into the throne, for some reason, it's one of the very first spots that I think of when it comes to Judgment Day 2006. Aside from that, also the Eminem spot where they break up, or the Undertaker getting pinned by Great Khali. All of those are certain spots. Kurt Angle when he is facing Mark Henry and he does the scream, the yeah, like those are all stuff that sticks in my mind. But it's definitely the Booker T, Bob Lashley throne spot that sticks out in my mind. And I would love to go to another show, but it's like these tickets, man. At that rate, I've talked about it too on the TikTok that I uploaded earlier. But it's like at that rate, I might as well just watch it at home, enjoy it from the comfort of my home. But I would love them to bring another PLE back, but they've really relegated it to just Raw and SmackDowns here. But I can't even imagine the prices of a PLE. Like if they ever brought WrestleMania back here, I would love to go, but I'd have to sell like a kidney, an arm, and a leg just to get in the building at that rate. Because I don't know if these prices are ever going to go down, honestly. Because people will pay. There are going to be those people to pay. And as long as there's people willing to pay, I don't see the prices going down. Robert with a great point says, Bob Lashley looks the same as he did then. It's really amazing to see that not only from like a facial standpoint, physically, still in great shape 20 years later, Bobby Lashley is. And it's like, one, it's great genetics, but two, I mean, the man probably works really hard on his health and his physical appearance. And again, shout out to Bobby Lashley. An underrated piece of the Ruthless Aggression era, but just a star, truthfully. So if you're just joining us here on the live stream, we shared our thoughts on WrestleDream. I'll do a quick recap here. When it comes to the match card, WrestleDream will be taking place in St. Louis, Missouri this upcoming Saturday. It'll be a jam-packed show, quite frankly. I have the TNT champion Kyle Fletcher successfully defending the title against Mark Briscoe. Jamie Hayter eats the pin against Tekla in what I think might be a sleeper of a matchup. I also have the Hurt Syndicate getting a definitive and hopefully the last win over the Demand. And within the tag team division, I have the Young Bucks defeating Jurassic Express in the $500,000 match. The World Tag Team titles will be on the line, and I think Brodito actually drops the title to Okada and Takeshita. We'll stick with the women's title as Toni Storm, I think, will be unsuccessful in earning that championship back. I think Statlander holds on. And Darby Allin wins the I Quit match and maybe puts an end to this Death Riders match / feud. And Hangman defends and retains the championship. Will the Savage says, my first WWE event. First of all, if you have any questions or comments or want to share your predictions regarding WrestleDream, I encourage you to do so in the chat. That way I can see and we can talk about it as well as to what you think will happen at WrestleDream. I'd love to get your guys' input on that. Will says, my first event I've been to, I saw the Bloodline, the Usos, alongside Sammy and Solo versus Drew, Sheamus, Ridge, Butch, and KO. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Wait, what show did you go to? That sounds like the War Games matchup. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds a lot like War Games in 2022. But that's stacked. That lineup is, I mean, okay, with all due respect, the weakest one there is Ridge Holland. But it's like Kevin Owens, Pete Dunne, McIntyre, Sheamus, and the Bloodline. I mean, it does not get any more stacked than that. Except for Ridge Holland. You could substitute him out. Man. Meanwhile, my first event, as I mentioned, was Judgment Day. That was main evented by Rey Mysterio versus JBL, which I think was a perfect encapsulation of me being a fan as a kid. Because Rey Mysterio was like a superhero in our household, the masked wrestler, the legend, and the representation of, Hispanic culture. Against like the ultimate anti-Hispanic wrestler in JBL, who nowadays I adore JBL because I think he's a great heel. But at the time as a kid, man, he was almost up there with the devil, And I thought it couldn't have been a better match to be my first wrestling pay-per-view. Aside from that, on that card as well, I talked about the King of the Ring final, but Paul London and Brian Kendrick versus Eminem, Finlay versus Chris Benoit. Crazy to say I saw him wrestle live. The Kurt Angle Mark Henry matchup, the Undertaker versus Khali matchup. I think Jillian fought Melina. I think. Tyler, okay, this is a good point here. Ready. Tyler mentions in the chat, the new TKO contracts have a clause where if you are fired for cause or breach, there's a 1 year no compete. I promise I can read. No compete clause in WWE. The older contracts had this, but it's a standard now. This is the holdup involving Andrade. That seems word for word. You copied that from somewhere. That's word for. That's pretty good. I think I read that report exactly word for word. But yeah, so apparently Andrade we knew was all done with the WWE. We did not expect him to be anywhere else pretty soon, but he appears in AEW and we haven't seen him since. So immediately I'm thinking, dude, did they already lose direction of Andrade? Like, really? This soon? But apparently there was a clause in the contract, and because of this violation, he probably will not compete for another year. That is crazy. Think about that. If this holds true, because I don't know if he's going to take legal action, but if this holds true, Andrade won't be able to compete for another year. So much can happen in a year. Like, wow. You talk about wrestlers missing time and are afraid that people won't react or remember them. I don't think they're going to forget Andrade, but I feel like they're going to forget that he's, not able to compete a full year. Will says SmackDown main event match leading into War Games for the next day for a better chance of winning. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, because that looks like the War Games matchup, but that makes sense that it was the lead up. Still, hey, that's a stellar matchup, man. Tarsus, but he has a fight somewhere in Mexico. I gotta read into it, Tyler. I am familiar with what you're talking about in terms of the no compete clause. It was November 25th, 2022. Shout out to Will. But I don't know, man. The Andrade stuff is fascinating because I've never seen someone in my lifetime jump between, promotions the way he has. The only other guy that I would have known off the top of my head, but was like, I was a freaking infant, would have been Jeff Jarrett, who was jumping from WWE to WCW ever so often. The Andrade jumping is crazy though, and it's a shame. Andrade's really good. I really enjoy his work as a wrestler. His matches in AEW were fun. His matches against Carmelo I thought were tremendous, and his tag team with Phoenix was good too. I really enjoyed that tag team. And he just couldn't carve out a spot for himself on the roster, unfortunately. And that's a damn shame. It really is. Wherever he ends up, and whenever that is, I wish him the best, and I hope to see him, happy and healthy, for sure. Tyler also brings up Jacob Fatu. So Jacob Fatu is scheduled to be on SmackDown tomorrow. I would not be surprised if this is how they write him off. And if they somehow do an angle where Drew beats him down, and it just, I don't know how they're going to do it. But they beat him down to the point where he's going to be written off of TV. But Tyler says that Jacob Fatu is dealing with a non-wrestling related injury that's expected to keep him out of action for a very extended period, possibly in 2026. The injury bug sucks. The WWE has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the roster right now, but to see so many people injured, man, it sucks. It sucks, but also this is an opportunity for other members of the roster to step up and become an asset to the roster as well. We wish everybody a speedy recovery. In a perfect world, no one gets injured, but this is an opportunity for someone to step up into that role. Who will it be? That's why you and I watch. We gotta find out. Will the Savage says, but figure this out. Roman Reigns was not at the event at that SmackDown. I mean, should I even be surprised? Love Roman Reigns, especially as the OTC. But it is a little frustrating when it's like it's a part of a big storyline and he's not present. Whenever I see that whole Roman Reigns returns graphic, it's like again, like this man leaves ever so often. Every appearance is a return. Great topics here though, guys. I love the discussion that we had about WrestleDream. And also, you guys brought it when it comes to the Jacob Fatu conversation, TKO, Andrade, New Jack, Seth Rollins. A lot of things that you guys brought up into the stream. I love it. I love being able to have my own topic as the overarching theme of the episode, but also you guys come in with excellent questions and great points being made to help drive the discussion. As we begin to close down here on the stream, make sure you go out of your way, check out the New Jack video, and let me know what you guys think about New Jack, as well as other topics that you would be interested in covering here on the channel. Go out of your way and become a member of the Main Event Mafia to have exclusive access to videos, shorts, posts, polls, and also follow us on our socials at jareapod_. That is once again at jareapod_ on all social media sites. If it's not at jareapod_, it ain't me. So also subscribe to the channel to be a part of the stream. You cannot be a part of the chat unless if you are a subscriber here at the channel. And in the last few months, the numbers have been soaring and you guys have been killing it. So I want to thank you again for choosing to include this as a part of your daily wrestling consumption. Will also says that I live in Rhode Island and I went to 6 events and I never seen Roman Reigns. Still, see, that's some BS. I'm gonna tell you right now. You need to see Roman Reigns live eventually. To go to 6 events and still haven't seen Roman, that's a damn shame. We've seen Roman, I think, twice. I'm trying to think. I think twice. Once on an episode of Raw, and then once on an episode of SmackDown. And we've seen him wrestle once. But nonetheless, again, I can't thank you guys enough for the constant support and following of the channel. Make sure you stay tuned for some new updates on the channel. Like I said, if you haven't already, please check out the new Jack video.
I've arrived.
Right towards the end, buddy.
No, I heard Roman Reigns. Wasn't there Rumble 2019?
Was he in the Rumble though? Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
No.
we saw him 3 times, no?
No. Wait, I think he was in remission though.
Oh, okay.
He was in yeah. He wasn't in the Rumble.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it makes it feel better, you talk about Roman. I just got off of my job right now, and remember how Roman Reigns was covered in dog poop?
Yeah.
Well, similar for me at work, except the trash bag ripped on me. So
Ooh.
yeah,
You got covered in trash?
yeah.
Isn't that just what, like... No, I can't say that.
The bag ripped on me right when I was thrown in a dumpster, dude.
Oh.
The very same dumpster Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack was in. Was it Cactus Jack or Mankind?
Yeah, it's Cactus.
You know, because wasn't it, they were stuck in and they got pushed over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
By
like
the
that type of
Outlaws.
trash can. So,
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's alright. I have a Pepsi.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, for CM Punk.
Pepsi Phil.
Yeah, so
Shout
that's
out.
it.
Did
Nice
you-
shirt, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
WrestleDream's coming up, so I wore a Nightmare shirt.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to stop by and tell you I was there. He was at the Rumble 2019.
He was not there.
We went there.
We were there. Seth won.
Yeah.
You hear about Seth?
No, what happened?
His shoulder injury.
He's hurt?
Yeah, that's why he got jumped on Raw.
Is he, though? Is he actually hurt?
He was in a sling.
So he was in a cast with
That's what they're saying, okay, but he's out. He's gonna be... They're not doing it again. It's too soon to do it again. Plus, why would they do the Braun Breaker turn if it's a ruse?
I don't know, man.
But there's reports saying he's gonna miss Mania.
Damn.
Yeah.
So him and Kevin Owens?
Him and Owens. That's 2 big names right there. And I didn't even talk about it on the stream, but Kota Ibushi...
Yeah.
Because you and I talked about him off stream.
Mm-hmm.
But Kota Ibushi apparently broke his femur on an episode of, I think it was Collision?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Collision last week. Broke his femur, and he might be out 2 years. Because I heard that was like one of the most difficult bones to actually break. And I'm no doctor, but apparently you have to like almost learn how to walk after breaking it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but this is what I'm reading.
His moveset's based on kicking as well.
Dude, he's a kicker, and he can high fly. All that for it sucks. I love wrestling, but I hate the injuries. As a Niner fan, we hate injuries.
I don't want to talk about football.
Okay, we're not talking about football. He doesn't want to talk about football.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
My eye hurts a little bit.
Well,
I
don't
feel like
rub
Rey
it.
Mysterio when he had that patch. Or actually, no. Who was it? Was it was it
Was it Tongaloa
yeah,
had
it
a
was Tonga
Tongaloa had the eye patch.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go. See you guys. I just want to say hi.
Shout out to San Fran. I'm going to check out the last bit of the chat here, and then we're going to close up shop. Sir Robert says, injuries are not the end-all. Steve Austin injured by Owen helped him. He stayed on the show, more promos, drinking, and getting the... Yeah, fair, but I also think it shortened his career. In the short run, it definitely boosted him as a star, but I think you can make the argument that did shorten his career. Will the Savage says, I've seen all the members of the Bloodline except for Roman. Well, gotta knock him off the bucket list. Tyler also mentions about how Riddle and Wesley and more have been released. Do they have a no-compete clause? I mean, well, yeah. Because it's like in NXT, I think it's like a 30-day no-compete. I think if you're in NXT, it's a 30-day no-compete. no compete, and then on the main it's like a 90-day. Tyler says I think Seth is out all year. I again, if the reports are led to believe, he's gonna be gone past Mania. Will says I saw the Bloodline 2.0 with Jacob, but still never saw Roman. Oh man, dude. Hopefully the next show you can attend, he's there. But I mean, knowing him, the odds might be slim. Big shout out to everybody here that was in the chat today. I'll give a quick shout out to Tyler, Will, Sir Robert, San Fran just joined us earlier. We also had Muhammad in the chat. I want to thank you guys all for participating. Oh, and Reese. Shout out to Reese as well for being a part of the chat. Everyone have a great evening. It's always an awesome time spending time with you guys here talking about pro wrestling. Thanks again for choosing to be with us here on these streams in the evening or morning, depending where you're at in the time zones. Everyone be safe, be cool, and also make sure to check out that New Jack video. Please check out the New Jack video and let me know what you guys think. I will see you all in the next stream on Monday. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Everyone stay safe and stay cool. We'll see you then.